Good afternoon, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. I'm gonna provide a situation update. Thank you for joining me. God bless each and every one of you. Let's just jump right in, folks. There's plenty of things to talk about. We've got the latest victim of one of the fundamental laws of the universe. Get woke. Go broke, and boy did they go broke at midnight of January 25th. AT&T's DirecTV cut the signal for the conservative cable news network, Newsmax, immediately shutting the network off for more than 13 million customers of the satellite service. The stated reason given for the cancellation was an impasse between DirecTV and Newsmax regarding licensing fees that DirecTV would pay Newsmax for airing their program in their streaming services. So multi-channel video programming distributors like DirecTV pay licensing fees to the various channels that they feature. And according to DirecTV, Newsmax they were asking too much money and they decided that they didn't want to pay those fees. The problem with that excuse is that it's being reported that DirecTV does continue to pay the fees to a number of left-wing liberal news networks that are getting far lower ratings than Newsmax, and according to Newsmax, these leftist news networks have even higher feeds, so a lot of people are smelling a rat here. Even before services were cut, House Republicans weren't buying the excuse and urged DirecTV to reconsider dropping the conservative cable network. A letter was sent to DirecTV and its owner AT&T, co-signed by 40 Republican lawmakers, threatening hearings at the satellite company went ahead with the cancellation. Well, as of the 25th of January, they did just that, which made Newsmax actually the second conservative channel DirecTV deplatformed. In January of last year, they announced in a very controversial move that they were dropping One American News Network from their channel offerings, so many are seeing Newsmax as but the latest in what appears to be a deliberate targeted purge of conservative channels. Well, that didn't sit well with conservatives. Needless to say, a huge boycott of both DirecTV and the parent company AT&T was launched, and according to Newsmax, ironically, since the cancellation, AT&T has fallen in terms of stock price by 7%, wiping out $10 billion in their market value. Now this is during a time when the S&P actually rose by about a percentage point between January 25th and February 10th. And the Dow Jones declined by just around 1.8% during that same time period, so that was a significant downturn for AT&T, and Newsmax is obviously claiming victory here, as is one of their biggest fans. President Trump noticed the stock devaluation. He took to True Social and wrote, quote, "AT&T must reinstate Newsmax immediately and OAN while they're at it, because it's only gonna get worse for AT&T as people flock to leave both their stock and their platform." Welcome to the era of Trump. So what's he talking about there? What is this Trump era in terms of AT&T losing so much market value? What's the same era that's absolutely crushing Disney? You may have heard Disney's lost upwards of $120 billion as a direct result of their pushing wealth politics over the course of the last couple of years. Their stock value is cut in half since trying to do battle with Ron DeSantis in Florida. The sand has wiped the mat with Disney. And this new era explains precisely why, and it's one that promises to change the nation like never before. The new Trump era is one defined by what scholars call consumer politics. Now, consumer politics involves customers intentionally buying from companies that promote and support their political and cultural values, all the while refusing to purchase from those companies that actively oppose and offend and their political and cultural values. And so consumer politics involves two dynamics: boycotts and boycotts. Boycotts are obviously the refusal to purchase from companies that offend our values, but boycotts are intentional purchases from companies that support and defend our political and cultural values. Now, I bring up consumer politics here precisely because consumer politics are at the heart of cancelled culture. We've all seen this with our own eyes, how corporations so quickly and easily buckle under the pressure from far-left actors. Remember, we went through precisely this ourselves to the premiere of our movie The Return of the American Patriot. We had two cowardly venues cancel on us out of pressure from a bunch of woke leftist agitators. The fuel that drives cancelled culture is consumer politics, particularly the boycott side and extreme boycott side of things. But the boycott side of things is initiating a whole new economy known as the parallel economy, an economy built on consumers who no longer want anything to do with cancelled culture. So scholars are in wide agreement that the parallel economy that's rising comes straight out of cancel culture, particularly in the banning of President Trump from Twitter and Facebook back in 2021, along with the banning of Parler from AWS and the Apple App Store and Google Play Store, as well as the banning of prominent conservatives from Shopify and PayPal in the light. That was the collective catalysts for two things. First, a massive exodus of users away from traditional big tech. And second, a slew of investors pumping money into new tech like Rumble and True Social. An entire parallel economy are merging around that. And so someone needed to inform AT&T that these two dynamics were gonna guarantee they would lose money with what they did. The rise of parallel economy, it's been fueled by consumer politics that deliberately boycotts and boycotts in accordance with our economic and political values, which is the heart of cancel culture, which caused the rise of the parallel economy in the first place. So that's how it loops together, as it were. So, unfortunately, AT&T looks like they, along with the Disney Corporation, are having to learn the hard way. And in an era of increasing consumer politics, it's better to make your peace with the growing patriot movement around the nation, otherwise, you're gonna feel they're staying. It is, after all, the era of get woke, go broke. And this is some big news. Democrat Senator Dianne Feinstein announces retirement at the end of her term. Senator Dianne Feinstein of California will retire from Congress at the end of 2024. After 3 decades in the Senate and over 50 years in public office, she announced in a statement on Tuesday, quote, "I'm announcing today I will not run for re-election in 2024. But I intend to accomplish as much for California as I can through the end of next year when my term," and she said. Feinstein, at 89, is currently the oldest sitting member of the upper chamber and the longest-serving senator from her state. First elected to the Senate in 1992. A number of House Democrats have either announced a 2024 campaign bid for her job, including Representatives Katie Porter, Adam Schiff, and Barbara Lee. Feinstein announced her retirement amid reports that her cognitive decline is so bad that she recently became angry with staffers who are trying to debrief her on the stopgap funding bill. Quote, "I don't even know what this is," Feinstein said to her staffers. Last year, the San Francisco Chronicle reported that Feinstein is in such bad shape that her own Democrat colleagues want her to retire before her term expires at the end of 2024. The California senator will be 91 years old when her term expires. Then, just moments after the announcement was made, Feinstein disputed her own office's statement on her retirement. Quote, "I haven't made that decision. I haven't released anything," Feinstein said to reporters. Another one of the senator's staffers said, quote, "We put out the statement." She responded, "You put out the statement. I didn't know they put it out." Nikki Haley launches 2024 Republican presidential bid. Former South Carolina governor and ex-U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, announced on Tuesday that she is running for the presidency in 2024, highlighting her unique background and calling for a change. Quote, "I'm Nikki Haley and I'm running for president," she announced in the video. Haley spoke about her unique background, slammed racial politics, called out China, and called for Republicans to win back the popular vote. Quote, "I was the proud daughter of Indian immigrants, not black, not white. I was different. But my mom would always say your job is not to focus on the differences but the similarities. And my parents reminded me and my siblings every day how blessed we were to live in America." She said. She continues, quote, "I was born and raised in South Carolina. So I've seen the very best of our country. People here threw out the old tired political establishment and demanded accountability for their tax dollars. Industry reports called us the beast of the SE, which I love. People came by the 1000s for fresh starts. Moms and dads held their heads up high. Children learned that it would always be a great day in South Carolina." She said. She spoke of God and values that still make our country the freest and greatest in the world, but called for a change in the Republican Party. Quote, "Republicans have lost the popular vote in 7 out of the last 8 presidential elections. That has to change." She slammed Joe Biden's record as well as the Washington establishment. Quote, "It's time for a new generation of leadership to rediscover fiscal responsibility, secure our border and strengthen our country. Our pride and our purpose," she said. Northern U.S. border sector migrant apprehensions at historic highs. Swanton sector Border Patrol officials report that migrant apprehensions on this part of the U.S.-Canada border this year hit historic highs during the first 4 months of fiscal year of 2023. Swanton sector agents experienced an 846% increase over the same period just last year. Despite temperatures falling to -4 degrees Fahrenheit in parts of January. Swanton sector agents apprehended 367 migrants who illegally crossed the Canadian border into the United States, the highest January in 12 years. This compares to only 24 migrant apprehensions in January of 2022. According to the Nationwide Encounters report from U.S. Customs and Border Protection, quote, despite sub-freezing temperatures, Swanton sector continues encountering family groups with young children, including infants illegally crossing from Canada into the United States, CBP officials stated. They continue, quote, in December of 2022. Border Patrol agents led search and rescue efforts, providing life-saving aid in separate incidents occurring in Newport, Vermont and Burke, New York. These incidents demonstrate BP agents' priority to preserve life even at the risk of jeopardizing their own safety. Swanton sector agents apprehended 5th to 100 migrants in Vermont, New Hampshire and northeastern New York. This represents an increase of 846% over the same period in fiscal year 2022, and exceeds the total apprehensions for all of fiscal year 2022 and fiscal year of 2021. Combined official stated, quote, as we progress deeper into winter and continue to address the ongoing pace of illicit cross-border traffic, the level of concern for the lives and welfare of our Border Patrol agents and those we are encountering, particularly vulnerable populations, continues to climb. Since one sector chief patrol agent Robert M. Garcia, he continues, quote, it cannot be stressed enough. Not only is it unlawful to circumvent legal means of entry into the United States, but it is also extremely dangerous, particularly in adverse weather conditions, which our Swanton sector has an incredible abundance. Mexican president calls on us voters to reject border security candidates. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador praised Joe Biden's softer approach to immigration on Tuesday, adding that his government plans to press American voters do not support candidates promising increased border security investments. During his Tuesday morning news conference, the president congratulated Biden for not mistreating migrants and claimed the Hispanic population would remember at the polls the way that politicians treated migrants. López Obrador also criticized U.S. congressmen for blocking Biden's efforts to, quote, regularize migrants, as had been promised during his campaign. The president also criticized the approach of Republicans for calling for stronger border security, despite previously claiming that he follows a non-intervention approach. The president said his government would pressure us voters to fight in favor of migrants, quote, because if there is the mistreatment of migrants, and especially Mexicans, we are going to call not to vote for those parties and for those candidates. In the exercise of our freedoms, Mexico's president said. Biden criticized for climate change tweets, vowing cleaner air and safer water amid Ohio train derailment, fallout. Biden is being criticized for a tweet on Tuesday promising that environment investments will ensure, quote, our kids will breathe cleaner air, as his administration's Environmental Protection Agency is under fire for its handling of the Ohio train situation and health concerns over toxic chemicals are mounting, quote, because of our climate investments. Our kids will breathe cleaner air, drink safer water and get to school powered by clean energy. Biden tweeted on Tuesday morning. He added, quote, that's the future we're building, tapping EPA Administrator Michael Regan, let's finish the job. Twitter users, however, accused the timing of the tweet as being tone-deaf, as concerned residents who live miles away from the East Palestine, Ohio train derailment are telling local news outlets that they are still smelling lingering odors in the atmosphere. Some reported developing worsening costs. Others expressed fears of drinking or bathing in the water coming from their faucets, despite water utilities across state lines in West Virginia taking precautions and local officials assuring it's safe, quote, not in Ohio. One Twitter user wrote. Another one wrote, does Ohio not exist to this guy? Extremely poor timing to talk about the climate. A third Twitter user said, quote, the audacity of this statement considering what's going on in Ohio and its surrounding states. Once again, to remains mum on the subject. Thanks for joining us on today's episode of Open Source News. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and turn on the notification